one to feel like if you know where I live and you have dinner at my table, you're welcome back anytime. So maybe I should keep my address a tiny secret. And today, what I thought would be a good set of recipes are some simple cold salads that sort of resemble things that you could get if you went to Chipotle or some of the Thai restaurants. Not exactly, but similar, but how easy they are to do at home. So they do call for cooked pasta. And since I knew this would be a 1-hour demo, I have just put my pasta into boil, and you know pasta is supposed to be about 8 minutes, so we should be good to go. The two pastas that I've prepared is the shells number 22, because I think they're cute, and then just an ordinary linguine number 17. We're going to use the shells number 22 for the recipe that's called the Southwestern, pull it over, Southwestern pasta salad. So the ingredients for the Southwestern pasta salad and for the other cold peanut salad are almost the same. If you're allergic to wheat, of course, you can use a gluten-free pasta. If you would rather use something like a rice noodle or soba noodle, but I'm boiling ordinary spaghetti pasta because I think that's the easiest one to find in the store. But how many of you have ever tried to make pasta out of zucchini, or what they call zoodles? So I have a zoodle maker. Okay, I've already assembled it, but the parts essentially have you to take a zucchini, which very coincidentally is fresh from my garden, but right now you can get zucchinis in all the farmers markets and they're wonderful. It fits onto a blade, and the blades come in a package that allows you to either shred or turn it into noodles. So the only pitch, which is like what's new, is that there is a arm that turns this, so I'm going to manually turn it. Let me have my husband put the other camera over here so you can watch me turn, and we're going to make zoodles. Okay, over here. Right. So here's the, as you can see, here's the blade, where if you turn the, one moment. That was me turning down the pasta water. Here's the blade, and here's the zucchini. And there will normally be a handle, but as you can see, this is where the noodles will come out. So here they go. I'm going to do it manually. There's worse things in life than to have to make your zoodles manually. Can you see them coming out? It's so much fun. And some people like to eat them raw. I like to put them in a little bit of hot water and just give them a little bit of a steam. And they actually do really well in the place of spaghetti, or if you're trying to cut down your carbohydrate, you can make a blend of part spaghetti and part zoodles. Isn't that cute? Okay. I'm going to just make some more. I'm going to try to do the entire noodle, the entire zucchini, because if you, once you realize one zucchini can make lots of zoodles, but when you cook the zoodles down, they really do, like if you cook spinach, you start out with almost 5 cups and you end up with 1 cup. So they definitely lose, when they lose their moisture, they shrink. Okay, still on it. Here's my zucchini. Here's my zucchini almost ready to be almost finished. But here I'm going to reattach, put it back into the, let me see if you can see what I'm doing. Put the noodle attachment back and give it some more turns and create some more zoodles. I wonder if anyone else, maybe in the chat, can tell me if they've ever tried making zoodles from this contraption. I bought one at Bed Bath and Body Works, and it worked great. And then I kind of couldn't find it in the house, but I got very lucky and I found one at my local thrift shop. So now I have 2.5. But so to save a little time, you can see how delicious looking the zoodles are. Very, very low calorie, very delicious, not very bulky. I'm going to take a minute to just try to peel a few more while the rest of the pasta cooks. I think what I may need to do is to cut a little bit from the edge to make a surface that can fix onto the blade again, and then push forward and make those zoodles. Okay. I think once we get about another inch of zucchini twirled, and you can do this with carrots, you can do it with yellow squash. The more tender the vegetable raw, the easier it is to create the noodle. But sometimes it just doesn't lend itself to being kind of a pasta type substitute. Okay, I think I got good going here. So this will be for the one that we will use for the Asian style, cold peanut sauce. Let me move the zoodle away. I'm going to test my pasta to see if it's done. I usually am one of those pasta cooks that I put it on and I come back tomorrow. It's usually cooked. And what we're going to add to each of those is some diced or nicely minced cilantro, some sliced carrot, grated carrots, some grated cheese. We're going to add make a sauce out of vinegar and honey and soy sauce and sesame oil, and I'll start to make those now. First, testing the noodles to see if they're cooked. I'm going to reach for another spoon that the handle is not so warm. That one was pretty close to the burner. Okay. These guys look pretty cooked. I think what I'll do next is put them in a strainer and let them drain. But in case you are a cook that likes to be a little more efficient, if I wanted to put my zoodles and cook them a bit, I could drop them in here and then put them down inside the same water where the pasta is boiling. And I think I'll do that just to make them a bit more tender. Here they are. I'm going to set them just inside the pot that is cooking the other noodles for about 3 minutes. Okay, this pot holder, you really are in my kitchen. This pot has the noodles for the Southwestern salad. So, does anybody have a system for determining if it's ready other than scalding your mouth by tasting it? Was the old thing, throw in the ceiling and see if it sticks? I'm afraid I do the old school way. I would usually run it under cold water and check, but this time the water is too far. I think it could use 2 minutes more. So in the meantime, let's start making the peanut sauce. All right. My recipe is here. So the peanut sauce says that we should start with the cooked noodles. And you should all have the recipes. They were offered in the original registration page for this cooking demo. 2 large carrots that are grated or diced, 1 English cucumber grated or diced, a half of a small red cabbage finely chopped. I decided to use Chinese cabbage instead. 2/3 of a cup of chopped fresh cilantro, a half a cup of thinly sliced green onions, and the toppings can be chopped peanuts, sesame seeds, even a little more cilantro and some lime wedges. So let's start by making the noodle ingredients. The large carrot is here. I mean, large carrot. Okay, I don't think we need this much, but can you put this on the board? There we go. So we're scraping the carrot, and I'm going to grate the carrot next. Saving, of course, all of my scrapings for the compost. Here's the grater. Okay, we can go back to the full screen. There we go. Okay. So these are going to go into the hot noodles, and we want to have 2 large carrots grated. I think the large carrot that they're talking about is more like the average supermarket carrot. So when I do this whole carrot, we've done 2 large. Okay. Now, a lot of times when you're watching a cooking show, you see that they have already grated or chopped up most of what they're going to be using. But just because I think it's fun to have a chat about this, we're going to do the same thing. So there are about 30 varieties of carrots. And when we talk about baby carrots, while they're very tender and they're almost a little sweet because different carrots have different naturally occurring sugars, and carrots actually have a relatively significant amount of sucrose, which is table sugar. Those things they call baby carrots are really adult carrots that have been laved or carved into small pieces with sort of a top and a bottom. I think the carrot distributors actually have that on their package, and there's a fascinating website that talks about the way the carrots are grown. And the carrots that are used to make baby food are carrots that are slightly sweeter. But the beauty of carrots is that they're a great source of beta carotene, sort of in the name, isn't it? Which is the vitamin that isn't the thing that helps you see better, but it is very important for preventing night blindness. Carrots are also a fabulous source of potassium and fiber. And really, if you had carrots several times a week, I would call your diet going strong. Okay, so I'm going to put these carrots in a bowl as we prepare for the noodles to arrive. Okay. Do you think that represents about 2 cups of cooked carrots, of grated carrots? I think so. Might even be a little too much. I might put some carrots aside for maybe putting in a coleslaw or something like that. Okay, the next ingredient that can go in is a large cucumber, grated or diced. My cucumber is actually not immediately reachable, but I'll hand it out on a hot moment. Now we want a half of a small red cabbage. So I'm going to use the Chinese cabbage, which I think is just delicious for the a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of bite. I'm going to take these and just wash off the outer leaves slightly because you know they can have a little bit of grit. The rest of this is key. Want to go pick one out of the farm? You know, okay, so I'm going to cut up the Chinese cabbage. So of course, the red cabbage would have been much more colorful and provide a slightly different, slightly sweeter flavor. So of course you can do either a little bit of both or go entirely to that one. And I'm going to give you a vision of how I'm chopping here. My cleaver is on an angle, and I'm just going to get very thin slivers because that way you're not kind of forced to chew on a big hunk of something at one time. Okay. So the recipe asks us for a half of a small red cabbage. So I think I'll just do these because in the end, you want your vegetables to be about a 1-to-1 ratio to each other. So if you're ever wondering what do they mean by small, what do they mean by medium, you don't have to wonder what they mean by red. Okay. As long as one vegetable doesn't kind of dominate another. So let's see. I'm going to make the cabbage and the carrots approximately 51 part each. What do you think? Maybe a few more carrots? Okay, we'll do a couple more carrots. Next ingredient asks for 2/3 of a cup of chopped fresh cilantro. So this has been washed, because cilantro can be also pretty gritty. How many of you use the stems as well as the leaves? Depending on how patient I'm feeling, I might actually take all the leaves off. So let's do that. And again, this is real-time prep. You know, you don't get fooled into seeing someone pull something together in a minute and a half, which really took 25 minutes to do. So once again, holding this out for the compost. And don't you love the smell of cilantro? Okay, 1 second, I'm gonna reach for that.
Oh, the phone video is off. The phone video is off. I can't see a picture.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, 1 second, I'm going to get the cucumber. And stop that. It actually is being very elusive, that cucumber. What we might do is go find one in live time that's growing up along a bicycle wheel rim, because all of us who are here are interested in being as fresh and creative with our food as possible. Okay, so here I've got some, here's my measuring cup. So we can know when we have 1/3 of a cup. I lost place. 2/3 of a cup. Okay.
Video's off on the phone again.
The video's off?
Yep.
Okay. Believe it or not, I was getting a phone call.
Oh.
I may have to join again. It wants me to do a personal ID. How annoying. Okay.
You know what? Tilt your camera, your laptop down just a little bit, and then we'll see the table.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna just turn that off. We're working it here.
Hey, first time around. There we go. Perfect.
Way more cute.
Now see the table.
Okay, so we're doing our 2/3 of a cup of cilantro. This is a 1 cup measure. So I'm going to fill it up a little more. Now remember, I cut back on some of the carrots and some of the Chinese cabbage. So it's possible that this would be the proper proportion without going to a whole 2/3 of a cup. So I'm pretty comfortable with doing that. And now we're going to do some thinly sliced green onion. And we don't need, thank you, the cucumber was just harvested. Okay, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a rinse. Probably will get mosquito bites coming back from there. Okay, so I'll chop up this cucumber in just a moment. We're doing the thinly sliced green onion. Once again, with keeping your fingers, did I say toes? Tucked in. I don't think we need as many as half of a cup. So I'm gonna do, once again, something that will approach being slightly less than equal parts of the carrot. And while we love onion, just biting into it when it's a little overwhelming can really ruin a dish. And then the next thing we'll go to is I have on the side the toppings. There you go. Next, I'm going to add the pasta, and then I'm going to make the sesame sauce. Okay, here's the pasta the zoodles that I dropped inside the hot water of cooking with the pasta. Now I'm going to put the pasta in the sink and drain it. Here goes. The fresh cooked pasta about to be drained. Now we have the pasta draining. I will add the pasta, which is ideally would be chilled by now. So I'm going to add it to the carrots and the Chinese cabbage, the cilantro in just a moment. While I'm letting it drain and cool slightly, I'm going to make the peanut sauce. Okay, the peanut sauce is really the part that I find exciting. It starts with, what's a surprise, 1/4 of a cup of peanut butter. And since peanut butter is such a nuisance to get out of a jar and out of a container and into a jar, I'm going to wing it. I'm going to use a spatula. And let's say that if you took your hands and you put your palms adjacent to each other, touching, and you moved your fingers at a 90-degree angle, that's approximately 1/2 of a cup. So I'm going to do 1/2 of that. And I'm going to let you all vote. Does that look about 1/2 of that? I'm glad you agree with me.
Yes.
I like a unanimous vote. Always works well. Okay, so there's our peanut. Next, we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of fresh squeezed lime juice. Well, if I told you this lime juice was fresh squeezed, are we still going to be friends? Good. And I'm going to measure this time because I do have some fresh lime I can add to it. So here is our kind of fresh squeezed. This is 1/8 of a cup. So, you know, if you want to get some action out of your lime, you have to roll it. I'm going to roll it here. And then I will slice it with the same knife that was just cutting the cilantro. And I have this cute little device that I got at a discount store 1,000 years ago, where you put your citrus piece here. That goes in the cup. It fits snugly. Then you put your lid on and you go to town with trying to squeeze the juice out of your citrus. So here goes. And I will use this to give the rest of the lime a real fresh taste. Then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. So I don't know if you're really a gourmet and you always buy rice vinegar. Here we go. Here is the spout. Let's see how much lime juice we harvested. This is 1 tablespoon. Let's go. What did we get? Hey, oops. Hey, that's great. We got a full tablespoon, and we need 1 more tablespoon to make this according to the recipe. And we made it. So that meant that you got about 2 tablespoons out of, you know, an ordinary, probably reasonably expensive lime. And here's the rest of the lime tucked inside there. There is a lime added as a garnish, so I might cut this up later. Okay. Has anyone ever made key lime pie? I've never bought a key lime, but I used an ordinary lime, and no one rejected the pie. So into there, we put our lime juice. So we have a bottle of rice wine vinegar, but it's unopened. So rather than open it for 2 tablespoons, I'm going to use the distilled vinegar, kind of the budget version. And for this, we're going to add another 2 tablespoons. I believe the rice wine vinegar might be a bit sweeter and a bit saltier, or a little more mellow. So forgive me if this one has kind of a bite, or though you'll believe me if I tell you it tastes great. All right, last one. Last ingredient, or the next 2 ingredients, a tablespoon of honey or maple syrup. So here we have our jar of honey and tablespoon, peel off. Why does that have to be so hard? Way back in the day, before all of our foods were so carefully and securely packaged, there was a fair amount of people sneaking things or sniffing things that made other people pretty uncomfortable. So how many tablespoons of honey? 1, here goes. And this will also help to sort of mellow out that ordinary supermarket vinegar that I just used. Now I want 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, and then a teaspoon each of half a teaspoon of garlic powder, ground ginger, black pepper, and crushed red pepper flakes. Here they come. Crushed red pepper flakes, waiting for the honey to drip. By the way, if you want your honey to run a little faster, you can let it sit in hot water for a moment. People who are honey connoisseurs say never put your honey jar in the microwave, so I don't let them know that that's exactly what I do. And we want, again, a half of a teaspoon of black pepper. Here are the teaspoons. And as you can see, this is supermarket black pepper. I have many a friend who fusses at me for not buying my black pepper and then grinding it. So that's going to be our half a teaspoon. We now want to add a teaspoon of garlic powder. Here is a teaspoon of garlic powder. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And this is the sauce. So although on the previous ingredients I scaled them down, we can add as much sauce as we want to taste. But we don't have to use over sauce it in a sense. Now I'm going to add the ground ginger and the ground red pepper flakes. Here are the red pepper flakes, half a teaspoon. By the way, I have a half teaspoon, but I find that teaspoon is just easier to manage sometimes. And the ground ginger. Here's our ground ginger. And in just a moment, we're going to get started on the Southwestern one, which is going to use a little less in the way of time to do it. So I think the only thing missing from here is the sesame oil, which I'm going to reach for. Thought it was on the table. Okay, here's our sesame oil, and it asks for 1 tablespoon. So 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon. A teaspoon is 5 cc's, a tablespoon is 15 cc's. And with sesame oil, you really don't want to overdo it because it will dominate the flavors so much in your final product. So rather underdo it and then come back for more later. Now we're going to whisk, lovingly blend this sauce. I have a small whisk, and here goes. It'll take a moment because we want that peanut butter to blend with the lime juice and the vinegar and the honey. But in just a moment, it's going to be amazing. Okay, maybe I'll ask my sous chef over here to whisk my thing while I pull out the noodles, which are behind me in a pot. Can you see that it's softening up? And if you get too fast and you want to get this in a hurry, you're just going to have a mess. So really enjoy the zen of doing the stirring. Okay, so that's officially our sesame peanut sauce with all the ingredients. And now we want to know, cook the noodles and drain. Make our peanut sauce, whisk all the ingredients together until combined, add the noodles, the carrots, the cabbage, the cilantro. So the noodles, the cabbage, the carrots, the cilantro are here. I'm going to drain the, can you see? My noodles are sticking to my strainer. I'm going to drain the noodles for these. See, these noodles are drained now. I'm going to drain the noodles for the other salad as we finalize this one. So give me a second to be off camera.
Tilt your camera slightly up.
Okay.
This way we can see you. There you go. Stop, stop, stop. Good. Now we can see both you and the table.
Okay. Here are my cooked noodles. Here are my zoodles. And I'm going to put these into a dish, blend it with the carrots and the cilantro and the cabbage. Not quite all the noodles, but remember I did tone down the proportions on the ingredients. I'm going to blend all of these so they look happy. Can you tilt me again so I can get a better view of this? Okay, good. They're delightfully colorful. If you are thinking, well, I need to control my carbohydrate, well, by adding the carrots and the cabbage, whether it's Chinese cabbage or red cabbage, you could add cilantro. Oh, and the cucumber. The cucumber who came in from the farm. It does call for an English cucumber, so I'm going to wing it. I'm going to pretend it's the English cucumber. An English cucumber is famously seedless. So these have seeds, and if you're not grossed out by it, I'm going to go ahead and put my Yonkers cucumber into our cold sesame salad and make it pretend it's the seedless variety. I may take a moment to try to kind of maybe separate the seeds before I go in. And here they go. This looks so good. I can't wait to taste it. Being a person who, I confess, I love salt, I probably would want to put a little more something salty in here, like some sesame soy sauce. But that's your call. And it's one of the things as a dietitian that I like to remind people that if you're cautious about how much sodium you eat, it doesn't mean you can't eat sodium. It means that you kind of budget your sodium throughout the day on the different kinds of foods you choose to include. Okay, so here is our beautiful salad. Okay. And here comes the peanut sauce. And here comes pure deliciousness. Well, I did pour in all the sauce after all. We're blending. And I'm going to place it onto a dish to present to you. I can't tell you how delicious it smells. Now, suppose you're thinking, as I'm sure my husband is, where's the meat? Why not add some cooked shrimp? Why not add some leftover chicken? Why not add a bit of maybe grilled beef? There's nothing, this is starting out reasonably vegetarian. It doesn't, again, it's not gluten-free, but it's very nutrient dense. It's very energy rich. It's very full of micronutrients, full of the beta carotene. So if you want to garnish it with a few cooked shrimp as well as some slices of lime, I'd say you're good to go. Let's put our lime on there. And then we'll head to our second recipe, which is going to go quite a bit quicker. Okay. Here is a little garnish of lime. And I'm going to garnish it with one more leaf of cilantro. What do you think? Can't wait to try?
Looks
Come
good.
by my house and
Delicious.
I'll serve it. Okay, so let's try the second recipe, which is the one that I say is pretty similar to what you might get if you went to a Chipotle. I'm going to take a moment to move all of this out of the way. Okay, these noodles have drained. I'll set them behind me. Oh, you know, we never used our zoodles in the one with peanut sauce, but why not add this right on top? It looks good. It looks like it's saying, please put me in the party, and that I will do.
Question for Renee, how many servings is that? How long will it keep in the refrigerator?
Okay, so I just turned, let's say, it says some servings 4 to 6. And in the refrigerator, I would go up to 5 days. And that's probably me being a little more daring. I haven't gotten sick that often. That was the wrong answer, wasn't it? Okay, now we're going to make our Southwest salad. And I'm going to take a moment to clear my cutting board over in the sink. And our Southwest salad, I have both in my electric version and I have a paper copy here. So I'm going to go with the paper copy. It starts using a pound of pasta. We got a notice that our water was going to be cut off today, so we were storing water all over the house just in case. But so far it hasn't. Okay, our Southwest pasta asks us to use a can of black beans, a can of kernel corn. It also includes a dressing that is made of cider vinegar, 2 cloves of minced garlic, 2 limes juice, a half a jalapeno pepper, and a taco seasoning mix. So the other 2 are quite optional. And let's start, however, with making the blended veggies. I'm going to start them in here. A lot of recipes will tell you to drain your or rinse your black beans. I say no, because when you open that can of black beans, what's inside is this murky, slurpy looking stuff that really doesn't look very edible. But in fact, that's what they call the soluble fiber. And the soluble fiber is the magic. That's the part that delays glucose absorption. That's the part that interferes with cholesterol absorption. So if you see that sometimes other beans have a much more pronounced kind of cloudy cover, save that if you don't want it in your cold salad recipe, but simply don't let it go to waste. So here we are. I'm going to drain the beans because I just don't want them to be too wet in our salad, but I will save that liquid. Should I rinse the beans as the recipe says? Well, no. Okay. So here's my can of black beans. I'll give it a few more minutes to rinse. Here's my can of yellow corn. And yes, I wash the lids of every can I open because remember, these cans have been on trucks, they've been in warehouses, and it goes back to my Aunt Helen saying, I don't know where his hands have been. So we wash. Okay, kernel corn. Once again, I will rinse it, but I will save the liquid. If I don't use it in a few days, I'll dump it. But until then, in case there's a use for it, at least I have it. Okay, our kernel corn is draining. Some of our kernel corn took a nosedive to the floor. Okay. We're now going to add, I'm going to add the cheddar cheese later. What happens is if my pasta is not very cold, the cheddar cheese starts to melt. the 2 avocados. Get avocado? Yes, you did. Here they are. Okay. So as we know, the avocado haunts the world, holding its perfection a secret. So I remember seeing something on, I think it was on Facebook. It had a picture of avocado and the word Monday. And next to the word Monday, it said not yet. And the picture of an avocado, and it had the word Tuesday, and it said not yet. And another avocado, it said Wednesday, today. And then it had another avocado that said Thursday, and it said too late. And that's how avocados always are for me. So this is a large one. I'm just going to cut the one in the name of time. I'm going to dice it fairly large and leave a little bit as a garnish for later. Do I need to tilt, Barbara, or are we good?
I can't see you, but I can see the table perfectly.
Table's all that matters. Okay.
All right. Well, then you're good.
All right,
There we go. We can see a little of your face. Perfect.
Yeah, I put on lipstick for this.
Yeah.
I was saying,
Time well spent.
after I have worked remotely for a year, it's the first time in my life I've used up an entire tube of lipstick. Okay, the corn goes over. And the cilantro, I'm going back to the rinsed cilantro. And it asked us for 1/3 of a cup again. This time I'm going to put in probably the same amount as it asked for in the recipe, because this time I'm using the full ingredients and not using like a half of the amount of ingredients. And also I'm taking away the stems. It's a little more time consuming, but if I were making something like a sofrito in the blender, I'd let the stems go in. But in the outside chance here that you bite into a stem, it's just, the texture isn't great. I've tried to put the cilantro back in the root in water to see if it would give me a few more shoots. Never does. If anyone's successful with it, please let me know how you do it. But if you do that with scallions, you don't ever have to buy scallions again. They just keep on giving you like an inch a week, maybe 2 inches, depending on how much you have. So here is our cilantro, dicing up like so. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be roughly 1/3 of a cup. If you want, I can stick it in a measuring cup and look at that. If 1/4 of a cup is 4 tablespoons, 1/3 of a cup is about 5 tablespoons. So there's 1, 2, 3. So that's a little shy of 1/4 of a cup, but just in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and go along. Now I'm going to add, let me leave the cherry tomatoes out for the moment as well in the name of time. I'm going to come over and get the pasta. And I've cooked the ones that look like shells. I think the shells are cute. I'm going to use not the full pound, not that much. And truly the difference in this pasta and this dish from the other, once again, you have protein from the beans combined with the grains. So you have what we call complemented protein. And if I had, to take the time to add the cherry tomatoes, it also gives you a beautiful color splash, because you've got the red against the black and the yellow and the sort of beige of the pasta. But let me show you how we put together the delicious dressing. I'm going to do the dressing in this pasta bowl. And it asks for a Greek-style yogurt. Now, the Greek-style yogurt is because it's taking the place of the sour cream, which is much more customary in Mexican dishes. And it really, if you buy whole milk Greek-style yogurt, you'll never be disappointed. So it wants to add 1 cup. I brought over here a 1/2 cup measure. I'm going to put it in twice. 1, 2. Now, everyone has a favorite brand of Greek-style yogurt. I'm easy. I just like yogurt. To that, we're adding the garlic. So the other recipe called for garlic powder. This one says to mince garlic. So I'm going to take a clove, and it calls for 2 cloves, but since my family's going to eat it, and my family is a little garlic shy, I'm only going to do 1. In fact, I'm going to take a moment to wash my hands. Where did I put my cough? May I ask your permission not to add the yogurt? I'm so sorry, not to add the garlic, because my family isn't fond of it. But the way that I find is easiest is to put the garlic down, mash it, and then mince it like so. You tilt it again. Margie, I'm okay. You guys have heard me cough. Okay. So we're going to add a tablespoon of more of that apple cider vinegar, sort of. Here we go. And now we're going to add the lime juice and the honey. Fresh lime coming right up. Remember, we're going to roll it. Just kind of break down some of the walls that are holding the lime juice in it, in those little, they look like little bladders in a way. And then we're going to put it in our cute little contraption, like so. Here's a half going into the lid. But of course, if you have a juicer, or you have one of those old school glass ones, which I also have, anything works. And if you remember from our previous lime adventure, half of a lime gave us approximately 1.5 tablespoons. So I think we're good to do 2 halves here. And here we go. After the lime juice, jalapeno chopped, and then optional taco seasoning, optional salt, and I'll make sure to add my 1 tablespoon of honey coming right up. Okay, lime juice going into the sauce. 1, 2, right on the nose. Whoa, okay. Honey, back to our honey, 1 tablespoon. And here's where I'm just about to finish and wrap up our 1-hour food demo. If I were to do anything new, I would make sure I had my cucumber and my cherry tomatoes up front. But I want you to know that these are so simple. They are so, the ingredients are so available. You can make substitutions, you can leave things out, you can change the amount in order to serve double or half. And these are just delicious recipes. So here's our topping. By the way, the taco seasoning is good because taco seasoning, you know, has a little more piquant, it's a little more daring. And this would also include jalapeno. It could also include the garlic. It would also include kosher salt if you desire. So here we go. Our topping on top of our Southwestern salad. And if you, once again, as if you were at Chipotle and they would say, do you want carnitas? Do you want beef? Do you want tofu? Do you want grilled chicken? Anything you want to put on top of here and then garnish with anything else? Or just take it like it is and have this even for breakfast because it's very refreshing. It's cold. It's got protein from the beans combined with the corn. It has protein from the yogurt, which it wouldn't have if you had used sour cream. It has vitamin C from the cherry tomatoes, which are on the side over here. It has lots of fiber because of the beans and the corn, and a lot of satisfaction. So this, I think we are now 5 minutes to the end of the hour. If Barbara wants to find out if there's any questions from the group, can you tilt up?
Okay, and if anybody, then feel free to, go ahead and unmute yourself and or put something in the chat if you have for questions for Maudene.
Ready.
Questions, comments?
Excuse me.
Yes, Henrietta.
I noticed that the beans and the corn in the tin, she didn't, I don't know whether she rinsed because of the salt content. And some of us are diabetic and they don't tolerate salt much.
That's a very important step in the preparation. So what I did do was drain them, but there has been some research that says if you rinse them under running water for about a minute, you can cut the sodium down about 30%. So some of the sodium stays in the beans and the corn, or all the canned or tinned ingredients or products. And so what I offer, instead of saying rigorously rinse everything, because one of the points I meant was when you have that liquid inside the can, that liquid also contains some vitamins and some minerals and some soluble fiber, which is also very protective. You could consider other foods during the day that you might choose that are very low sodium, so that if you do eat a canned bean or canned corn or another food which has been processed with sodium, your total daily sodium is within a safe range. So I might not have potato chips and olives at the same meal while I have this one, but if the sodium, and I don't know that the the website where I got this recipe, many of them do. They'll tell you like the nutrition facts and how much sodium there is per serving, and a serving is probably 1/5 of the total, something like that. It's probably, the total sodium is probably somewhere around 400 milligrams. I'm guessing, don't quote me. Because the only thing that had sodium in here were the canned vegetables. The fresh cilantro, the yogurt, the honey, the vinegar are all very, very, very low sodium. So it's actually a pretty sodium friendly meal if you use these ingredients. But if you do rinse them, you will cut the sodium down even more. I thank you for that question.
We do have, one comment from Susan. She said, thank you. Everything looks quick and easy. Renee asked, is dried cilantro acceptable substitute for the fresh?
I often have dried cilantro because I don't use the cilantro up and it goes bad in my refrigerator. So I would give it a try, especially if it's in the sauce. It's mixed in with the vinegar and the honey and the yogurt. It does come to life, but you would use a smaller amount. So instead of 1/3 of a cup, you might use maybe 1 tablespoon of dried cilantro. Any more chat?
Nope.
Is there anything else that you could use aside from the
Thank you.
the spicy pepper there that you use?
Aha. So I did not incorporate the jalapeno in the one you're watching me prepare. It is in the ingredients.
Right.
I could add that. I would probably ask someone to add it at their own plate. In fact, I didn't plate this one up, but we can see it in the bowl. I have a cute little plate for it, but we're good. So the other sort of piquant ingredients that would be in here would include red pepper flakes, but that was in the other recipe. And the red pepper flakes, by the time they spread out over the peanut sauce ingredients, you really don't feel that kind of bite the way it sounds like it might. But I encourage everybody to cut the recipe in half and give it a try. You don't want to make the whole thing in case you don't like it, but I've made it before and I know I liked it.
Okay, Renee says, thank you. I always throw out more herbs than I use.
And I want to thank my husband, Earl. Put your face in here, Earl.
Oh, tilt your thing up so we can see both of you.
Good idea.
Okay. Who went shopping for me?
There you go. Oh, not too much. There you go.
And, okay. He's a dude.
Thank
He's
you,
a
Earl.
dude. So we are going to use this arrangement for the next cooking class because I found instead of another room, it's just so much easier to be right here at the sink and the stove. And welcome to my kitchen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maudene.
Can
Enjoy.
recipe? Can you send us the recipe of the dishes you made?
They are on the website, on the page, and the RSS activities for the week. So if you registered for this workshop, it's on the same page where you registered. So Barbara, how would you follow?
We can send it out, but it is also on the website. I put them both on the website, on our Healthy Eating Corner page.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you
Thank you,
for
Maudene. Have a good week.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Maudene.
Hi.
Have a good week. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, Barbara, how we doing?
We're doing okay. So here, I'm going to stop recording.